Previously, Akamitsu's father left him behind to create his own harem, and his father was a well-known pervert in the neighborhood, so Akamitsu got treated as a pervert too. So he decided to change that and chose to be single forever, for which he wanted to be a monk at a temple, but he accidentally got dropped at a nunnery. There he discovered his father stole 20 million from the temple and fled, so Yuzuki decided that Akamitsu would pay off his father's debt by working in the temple as a servant. But the only problem was that he's the only boy in the nunnery and had to live with 5 gorgeous girls. So, as the story continues, Mia was bent on kicking out Akamitsu and challenges him to a duel, and if he loses, Akamitsu could really lose his little friend from down there as a punishment. But bro was really on board if it meant he could escape from girls, or so he thought, but their Tsukuyu, Yuzuki, and Kuragi left for errands and Mia was preparing herself for the duel. She was all set and started blabbering on and on like a high and mighty warrior, so Kagura and Akamitsu started to innocently ignore her, for which Mia got pissed off. So Akamitsu thought to settle down and drop out the violence, so Mia reminds Akamitsu how he touched her like a lecher when they first met. But bro had forgotten all about it and don't care like a Sigma male, which pisses her off even more, so, after that, the duel had to begin, and Akamitsu realized Mia was quite serious. So he wanted to block her attack, but Kagura saw Mia's binding had gotten loose, so she grabbed it, but Akamitsu tried to grab her sword but ends up grabbing her breast. So Mia blacked out from embarrassment, and Akamitsu won by default, so Kagura showed the punishment book to choose one punishment for Mia since she lost. But all of the punishments in there were pervy, but Akamitsu didn't want Mia to go through any punishment because he wants something else. He wants to have this book, but Mia thought he was pointing on her racks. Akamitsu promised to be gentle and it would only take one night, but explanation is he wants to really borrow that book for a night, but Mia thought he wants to have her for one night, so she ran off, so Akamitsu didn't know where he went wrong and goes to sleep. But in the middle of the night Mia comes to do everything Akamitsu desired for the night and started striping down her clothes. Akamitsu thought it has to be a dream, nothing more, but looking a bit on the sidelines. Kagura was filming everything, so Akamitsu comes to his senses and realized it's a freaking reality and clears it up to Mia that he just wanted to borrow the book for the night, not her body. Mia couldn't take it how messed up she took the situation and ran off in embarrassment yet again, so she thought of meditating in the meditation room. But Kagura had already sent Akamitsu there to comfort Mia and she had locked the door from the outside. It was chilling at night, so Akamitsu gives her a blanket, but she refused to touch everything he had touched, but she started to shiver from coldness. So Akamitsu forced himself on her and Mia told him to get away or she would get a turn on. Then she apologizes for everything that happened in the room and explains it's her genetic problem to be a pervert. She came from a high-class family and her mother was true pervert and created her own reverse harem with several men. She was a kid and didn't know what it meant for a girl to have 100 men as lovers, so she began to think of becoming like her mother, so other kids at school began to avoid her. But it was too late until she realized about her mother, but there was only Kagura who approached her and became her friend. So she decided to leave her pervert family and join the temple to become a new person, but all that changed since Akamitsu arrived and she began to get those naughty feelings again. So Akamitsu began to cry out because it was the same for him, his father was the same and left him alone to create his own harem, and it was a nice fated encounter they had. So Akamitsu told her they should fight their perverted genes together and the dispute between them were resolved. Their moment was getting nice and sweet, so Kagura comes in and told them to perform penance punishment all night and both were totally down for it. Then at morning Yuzuki saw Kagura was filming out something secretly, so she comes by and saw that Akamitsu and Mia were playing the sticky game together. So Yuzuki punished only Akamitsu for playing this lecherous game, but their Kiki comes by and reminds Yuzuki about her marriage meeting. She was already running late, so Akamitsu grabbed her makeup and clothes to help her out on the way to ready her for her marriage meeting. On their way she tells Akamitsu she has to get married to save the temple from closing, because a family need a high priest to stay at the temple, and if she enters this marriage, they might be able to get a high priest to move in with them and the temple could be saved, so Akamitsu has decided to help her, but they had already missed the bus, so Akamitsu borrowed a scooter. But even that ran out of gas, so both of the knuckled heads mistook a truck for a bus and screw themselves even more, but Akamitsu gives her courage to never give up. So Akamitsu borrowed the truck from the driver and arrived on time at the meeting place. Yuzuki had full confidence that she would enter in this marriage to save the temple. And Akamitsu knew he couldn't live at temple anymore since she was going to get married, but it took a moment to realize that a nun was right beside him. She mistook Akamitsu for a helper and dragged him inside to give him some cleaning work. There Yuzuki meets her fiancé. Yuzuki told Hon about the temple and the people she considers her family who supports her, but looking a bit sideways, and there was one present to give her live support from up close. So she got nervous seeing him, so Akamitsu thought of hiding out from there, and the nun called him at a perfect time. Akamitsu thought he could get away but instead got dropped on the couples meeting, so basically the matchmaker got sick, so the nun gave that job to Akamitsu. He proceeds the meeting smoothly and asked what he liked to do on his off days. Hon tells him he loved to go to the hot springs. And bro got bloodthirsty because Akamitsu thought Hon was going to do some really arrow things to pure Yuzuki, so Akamitsu falls unconscious himself from anger. So Hon knew right away he was one of Yuzuki's family members from her temple, but he wasn't angry about it since he saw Akamitsu got here because he was worried about Yuzuki. And he didn't even try to hinder their meeting and spoke truthfully this entire time, so Yuzuki remembered her adoptive mother teaching her never to lie. So she confessed she doesn't want to get married. Kiki had told her to just get engaged, and after 3 years when she becomes a priest, Kiki told Yuzuki to just break off the engagement. And all of it was for the temple to stay open, basically a scam. But Hon knew they were broke and didn't even have the money to repair the temple, so he thought it would be best to shut down the temple. And it was all because Akamitsu's father took 20 million and ran away, so he requested Heian to help them too, but if temple is down, it could benefit Akamitsu as well. Yet still Akamitsu didn't want temple to close because it was their home. Hon asked Akamitsu if he would support Yuzuki through thick and thin, and Akamitsu says yes. Then he asked a few other questions like a priest asks a groom on the marriage, and without realizing Akamitsu said yes, so finally Hon agreed to lend them his name and leaves. Then he meets the high priest of their own temple who seems to know about Akamitsu and his father. Akamitsu's father must be a real scumbag that even none recognized him. Well, anyways, their meeting had gone smoothly, but they missed their last train home, so having no chance, they had to rest outside, but the only option was the Love Hotel. So Akamitsu rejected the very idea he had, but Yuzuki was curious about it, so they ended up booking a room anyway. They both were all alone in a Love Hotel, so Yuzuki sent Akamitsu to have a bath first just so she could watch the DVD hotel provide. Well, I don't need to explain which DVD Yuzuki was watching, right? So their Akamitsu comes out and she instantly turned it off and goes to have a bath herself. Akamitsu got curious seeing her behavior and turned on the TV and saw everything Yuzuki was watching. But on the other side, Yuzuki was remembering how Akamitsu had showed his affection to her indirectly, so she thought Akamitsu will take her to bed, so she mentally prepared herself and comes out. But saw Akamitsu had tied himself just so he could prevent himself from touching Yuzuki. Poor girl got her expectations crushed, so she went to bed herself and left Akamitsu there. But our another 2 episodes comes to an end for today, but stay tuned to watch more of this anime and other recaps, so take care, and don't forget to subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon.